Jake, we're hypothetically live. We
Hypothetically.
usually do this in different, more spacey formats, but I don't
I
know.
was
Who knows what's
expecting like
happening right now?
a whole like music bit and maybe a new logo you had cooked up secretly without telling me, but
I got nothing.
we just
And
we
to
just
be
went for
honest, I don't even know how to view this stream at the moment. So good luck with us knowing how to tell anyone about this. There we go. It is live. Um, yeah, it's live. All right. So what are we doing here? How did I rope you into this?
Well, I think this was inevitable at some point. I mean, you and I have been podcasting together for a very long time, and you and I have been writing software now for a very long time. So it made sense that at some point those two interests would converge into one place.
We've been threatening this for
We have
a
been
long
threatening
time.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from both angles too. I've been threatening to do just like a dev themed, more less space focused and more work, other part of my work focused. So no better person to kick it off. I guess I don't know. This kind of feels good. Thursday morning coffee chats. Maybe I'll do this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm not promising to be exclusive with you on this one though,
That's fine. It's
because
fine.
we
We
told
can be
nobody
poly.
about this. We didn't tell our audience about this. We didn't tell any of the other Pine workers, the Pineys, anything about this.
Heinies,
So
yeah.
we've pirated the brand away.
I like it. Let's do it.
You had at least one comment. Like the reason we actually did this was that at some point you DM'd me and you said, "I don't think devs like me" or something like that, and I would like to
Like, I don't
dig
think
into that.
web developers like me,
Web developers, okay. And I don't know if
which
you
is a
meant
funny
in
thing to
general or
say.
the ones you work with.
Yeah, well, that's a funny thing to say because I am a web developer, so that is an interesting thing. But I've been thinking about it a strange amount lately, and
Okay.
as I progress through my career as a freelance developer, and experience different clients and different ecosystems and different stacks and different people and all these kind of things, I'm realizing that maybe my perspectives on how to write web software is like maybe I don't want to say radical, but I'm not fitting into standard grooves, and it's causing friction in various places, which is interesting to me. So I thought that would be I don't know. I think it's probably something interesting to talk about.
It definitely is because
So
there's even been moments. There are cycles of like how people work, and there are those that adapt very easily to different models, and then there are those that kind of just stick the way they're working and let the cycles of life catch up with them. So sometimes they're working in a way that is in vogue, and then other times they're working in ways that feel old school, and then all of a sudden that becomes the way to work again, and you kind of drift in and out. So are you more a static or dynamic process person?
I think what I'm learning is that I I don't I question a lot of I question trends. I think that's the big thing.
Mm,
And so, like a new some new library or some new framework or some new pattern or some new style, some new hosting platform, whatever like faddy, trendy thing like, appears out of nowhere and takes the world by storm. I'm not going to like immediately be like, "Oh, that's what I have to do too." I have like a lot of like they have to kind of like earn it with me, and me that makes me, I guess, a conservative developer. I guess that's what that would be. But in web world, at least, that's like the trendy stuff is it's like extra level in web, right? Like web developers just love libraries and third party packages. They're just globbing stuff into their software all the time. Like, oh, love this, love this. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is my stack. And they're like, they show off like the collection of treats that they've put together for their software.
really? I don't know. I don't
And
know if I've experienced
yeah.
that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, it gets pretty bad in like the kind of the node world, right? Like it's just your manifest in a file like that and an app like that can get just these huge lists of dependencies.
And
And
it's a point of pride that
um,
it's long.
I think it's a point of pride to be like, I have adapted to the new hot thing, and like I'm ahead of the
Mm.
curve, right? And there's a built-in part of the JavaScript ecosystem that makes that easier because like there's no standard library in JavaScript. It's pretty clunky. It was never
There's no
designed for
standards,
what we're,
I would say.
there's no
Yeah.
standards, there's no type safety, there's like nothing, right? It's a very loosey goosey language, and it's not designed for what we're using it for. And so there's a lots of space for third parties to step in and solve problems, right? And so your choice of that comes kind of part of your identity. And that's an interesting thing that causes friction for me
I
sometimes.
can't believe this, but I mean, welcome over to the world of native devs, Jake, because
Yeah.
I don't think you realize how native dev you sound at the moment. It is so the other direction in world, and I won't speak for Android development, but specifically iOS development. It is so the other direction where it is like reaching for a third party package is like you're kicking and screaming going for that thing, right? Like, I
Yeah.
just can't do
Yeah.
it. To the point at which a friend of mine, Curtis Herbert, he makes an awesome app called Slopes. It's like, a ski and snowboard tracking app. It's amazing. Great software. He, at the time, CocoaPods was the package manager for iOS development, and he had, at some point, Joe Chaplinsky and I caught sight of his CocoaPods file, and we were horrified by how long it was. And it was so long that we had what we determined to be a CocoaPods intervention, where and
Okay.
we did this like every couple of months. If we were hanging out together, we'd be like, let's do another round of this, and we would go through his CocoaPods file and make him prove to us why he needed each individual thing, and would try to get him to delete a couple and like envelop a couple of new things into the code that he's writing. So I think part of that is the nature of the fundamental difference between web and native is that the web, the whole world is up to your making, right? Everything in that browser window is yours. There's anything that you're going to enforce upon the way that your system works is in that browser window, and you don't really get affected by the system. Native devs are totally the direction where the system imposes so many standards and constraints on you, good and bad ways, where you're adapting
Yeah.
to the way the system works. So that means any third-party package that you add, you have to make sure that also keeps up with the thing that the system does. Or else when Apple releases new OS, you're stuck not being able to go to that new OS or get the new feature because the package that you rely on to do everything is not updated yet.
Yeah.
And it will very quickly just get out of sync with what you're deploying into. Whereas
Well, I mean, that happens in
website,
web
you
too.
build
That
it for sure on I think I'm talking more like, but it was your fault if you got into that case on the
yeah,
web.
the
And
users aren't pulling you into that direction, right?
yeah. So you have this
Yeah,
other huge
that's certainly
force in the
true.
native
Yeah.
world, which is this, Apple or Google or whoever that is building a thing that is already 2 years ahead of what you know. And so what you're building today already is incompatible with the thing they know they're going to launch next year or the year after. And you don't know it
Yeah.
until all of a sudden that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and like to push back on what you said, okay, I sound like a native developer, maybe, but I also I love
It's
the
not a
web
bad thing.
platform.
It's not a bad thing.
I'm obsessed with the idea of the open web and these standards based thing that it's just I can just make a thing and deploy it anywhere and no one can say no to me. Like I can just put stuff on the internet and I don't have to go through any kind of the system's constraints of your operating system or you're all the app store drama that you guys have to jump through. I have no interest in any of that kind of stuff. So the web platform is something that I really love, but that's where I get the friction because I want to operate in this world, but I don't want to do it the way that everyone else is doing it there. And I don't make friends sometimes when I do that because I think you can code the way you code in web. It just looks
You
a
for
lot
sure
different
can.
than the standard way, right? So I don't know. I get so I get so frustrated with some of these frameworks and stuff. To give you a good example, I was looking at the Next.js repo the other day, which is a meta. They call it a meta framework. This is how there's so much missing from the JavaScript world that a framework doesn't fill all the gaps. So now there's a meta framework that is literally bridging front and back end into one application and all this kind of stuff. But it's very popular. It's a React ecosystem, and it's it's the thing to code on right now. I don't like it at all, and that's the first thing that I don't make friends with. But I don't know if you can. I can show you this actually. If you have a sub, is the repo link somewhere in there? Can you get to GitHub from there?
Probably. Somewhere I'm here, I'm sure. Get started. One of these got a link to the right spot. Maybe not.
I can send it over if you.
Yeah. It's got to be here somewhere.
But this is
GitHub. There we go.
There you go. Okay, so scroll down to the package.json, right? Scroll down to the manifest.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Now I want you to do a find. Do a Command F.
Okay.
And I want you to search for the word canary.
Canary. First of all, this package file is so long that Safari is not loading it. That's great. That's really confidence inspiring. Okay, I see 12 instances of Canary that GitHub does not
12
want to.
instances of Canary in the
Yeah.
production Next.js. Now search for experimental.
I don't know what's going on, but this page like does not work on GitHub. Something is
It's a
not.
lot of dependencies. It's running npm install
I
probably.
think it might be. Look, it just shows me. All right, it exists. I see 12 experimental things.
Yeah. So this is how out of pocket the stuff is getting, is that this is like a production level meta framework that people are obsessed with, and it's like shipping beta code from React. Like there's just it's just
This
so
one's a
it's so wild west.
0.0 experimental. That's awesome.
Like it's just so insane how like these things are just getting out of control, and people are just not asking this question, right? They're just like, everyone codes next, so I got to code to the next, and then whatever patterns next decides is that's how you do it. And if you don't do it that way, you're a loser, right? That's what it's come out to.
I had this identity crisis at some point in my career as well, where I worked for years at Happy Cog back in the day, building very, Book of Zeldman standards compliant stuff. And I left there at the end of 2014, and I went over to the iOS world for a bunch of years. Still did web work, but kind of on my own. And I think the first time that I like checked back in on, what's the state of web development? How should I be diving into certain projects? I don't know if I just left at the exact moment that everything became DevOps and package management. And then I felt so like, I was like, I don't think I could get a job as a web developer anymore. Like if I went to get hired, I don't think I would get hired as a web developer. Because I missed like 2 years that were the most pivotal apparently in the total new way of doing things.
Yeah.
So I've definitely felt that.
That's right. I mean, it's not even just the libraries and packages and stuff. It's infrastructure has totally shifted in that way, and it's just like, again, now it's like it's an identity thing. It's like, where do you host your apps? Like, oh, I'm a Vercel guy. Oh, I'm a render.com guy. Oh, I'm a Google Cloud person. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, right? And it's like, now it's, and then of course there's always like the regular sort of like enshittification of these services, right? And so they come out and they're free and they're awesome and everyone loves them.
Free forever.
And then the service goes down and the price goes up and everyone jumps ship to the next thing. And like, it's just like, it's like a social media site basically, which is again, not how I'd like to.
I think you got to stop reading the internet and just do work, I think is what you're.
Well, that's mostly what I do, but I mean, I got to work with other people sometimes, right? So, but yeah, I mean, like even just the basics of that though, like you suggest hosting. Oh, how should I host this? Well, why don't I just throw it up in a Docker container on a VPS, and then you just get blinking stares, right? Like, no, you can't do that. That wouldn't work. It's like, I don't know how to do that or whatever, right? Like whatever reason it's going to be, and it's just friction, man. I'm getting
what percentage of the web development community do you think has within the last 3 years signed up and paid for just a server?
I don't know. I don't know.
Had to provision.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so let me be like fair, right? Like some of these services are super useful because they're just so fast,
they're
right?
awesome.
Like you just like literally like give it your repo and a login authorization, and then it's like, wow, now I have preview deploys and everything. Just I push the main
server
and
yeah,
everything. It's just handled, which is like lovely. I don't want to discount the use for that, but it's certainly like I feel like we spend so much time deciding to use the fast thing that the benefits of the fast thing outweigh it. Like, I don't know, there's so much like bike shedding and stuff, and like, sorting out like, okay, well this service does 90% of what I do, but the 10% it's missing is like pretty bad for me. So now I'm like building all these like band-aids and workarounds so that I can squeeze my circle shaped app into a Vercel square shaped hole or whatever it is, right? And I'm starting to question a lot whether this stuff is actually good, because it's starting to seem to me like it's fast at upfront and then very slow for the rest of the app's life cycle, right? And that's dangerous, because that's where most of the development
like
is,
workflow
right?
wise, you mean? Or
no, like just like deployment speed, right? So like, okay, I start a greenfield application and then I just like grab this framework and this library and this hosting infrastructure, and like in 2 hours I have an app in production that does something. You're like, this is incredible. And then you spend the rest of your life paying off the tech debt on it, right? It's just like, oh my goodness, I don't know.
That sounds a lot like my take on hybrid apps. So yes, I think
Yeah,
I
a little bit.
totally
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
that. Yeah, I understand. That's a different one of these chats.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
the interesting aspect to this all, though, is that um, do you feel like the people are like people generally jump into one of these swim lanes, and you're saying it's like an identity thing,
Hmm.
and how? But are they? Do you feel like these people are jumpy, that they like very quickly adapt the new thing, or they get entrenched for a couple years until what? What is the event horizon for that thing that they jump
Yeah,
onto?
it's not like immediate short term like able to jump around. They get pretty entrenched for like medium term, but eventually, I mean, these services just kind of go away and they fall out of favor, right? Like that's not, you have to, at some point you have to kind of move, because it's like, oh yeah, like, this thing that I learned how to develop on was a Google product, and then Google closed it, so now I can't develop on that anymore. And so you got to move, right? Like, because you're so dependent on these other providers a lot of times, right? So there's that, and or it's just like the application like gets discontinued or whatever, and so you don't need to ever migrate or learn. You just, that's idea is just
It's
done and it
running
goes
that thing.
away, and then
Yeah.
you start the new thing and the new thing and you're fine, right? So
Which I support
there's
that.
that,
I think
but
that's the position that myself, and I will speak for Pineworks generally, is that we tend to just be very, I always liken us to a chameleon, where we have very strong opinions about things, but we will also adapt whatever the
mhm.
environment is for a particular client or a project, or what makes sense for the thing that we're building, and be very outcome focused on how it presents to the world, but very flexible on the inputs there. And so whether
Mhm.
that's and actually some of that stems from, I mentioned HappyCog, and Ryan Ireland, who is the other Pineworks partner, is we worked together at HappyCog. He was my boss back then. Our other developer, Mark Hewitt, that was on the back end. Us three, I don't know if it was like a stated thing that we did, but every client project that we took on, we managed to figure out one new thing to try out on that project, whether it's like a new language or a new
Mm.
system or some little new component that we could try out and make sure that it made sense to integrate on this project, but at least it kept us just kind of like keeping the tools sharp. And
Yeah.
that since I kind of grew up in that environment from a work sense, led me to be like, let's be flexible and make sure we get on the right thing, which then leads all these years later to being able to start any conversation from a biz dev perspective of like, yeah, I bet we could work in that and bet we could figure it out. And unless it's some very particular hybrid app thing, which I think the ship has sailed on entirely for me, I'm pretty open to working however you want. So
Yeah. I mean, and that's how you should be, right? You should be open to new ideas, and you should be like, it's software, so it is constantly changing, and if you don't learn new things, you will be out of date pretty fast, right? And that's just the law of this domain.
yeah.
So yeah, you have to be that way. And I think the
But
outcomes approach.
your issue is when the attraction of the new thing forgets about, okay, well, what does this mean for workflow or deployment or end result?
Yeah, and I think there's just like a habit bit there too, right? Like I don't want to learn a new thing, and like this is the thing I know, and I know it works, and I've had success with it, so I just want to do that. That's an issue. That's just like a normal human thing. I don't know if that's a web development thing, um, uh, but yeah, it's just it's people are not making, I think the decision to bring a dependency into your application needs to be really thoughtful, and I don't think there's a lot of thought going into it. It's just kind of like, just grab this, it's just like off the shelf, don't think about it, and then you're tied to it forever. So it's, because with the, again, with JS being as, as holy as it is, all these gaps in the library and everything. When you integrate a library,
Holy
like,
with an E. I got it.
yeah, holy with an E, yeah, yeah. When you integrate these libraries, you're not just like, it's not just like some function you're importing and then you can swap it out when like it's like a fundamental part of your
Yeah.
architecture, and changing it is a big deal, right? So it's interesting. I don't know the solution there, but this is a good event.
Yeah, I'm glad I gave you a platform for it. It's
Yeah,
just funny.
yeah.
It's funny because we don't work entirely differently, But I actually thought, given the way that we entered the coding world, that you would feel more like the people you're dunking on at the moment.
Maybe, yeah.
Because you came in through, I don't remember the name of the place.
Through like a boot camp?
Yeah. If you don't want to shout them out, that's all right.
No, well, I can now. They filed for bankruptcy a month ago, so they're done now. Lighthouse Labs in Canada, shout out, pour one out for Lighthouse Labs. But yeah,
so I didn't, and that was in 20. It was when I knew you, so 20. I don't know what.
2020. It was
2020.
I took it. My last 2 weeks of the boot camp were when COVID hit, so I was like the first, for the first 10 weeks, we were going to an office in downtown Vancouver and doing web development together. And the last 2 weeks was from home. So that was interesting. Yeah.
That was wacky. So
that was a wild time.
That was, that feels like a long time ago, but in the dev world, I feel like it's the same era. I feel like 2025 looks a lot more like 2020 than 2020 did than 2015. Does that make sense? Oh,
yes, 100%. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you were on the other side of that epoch. And so I thought, Jake's going in this bootcamp thing. I at the time was still in the midst of, I don't think I could get hired as a web developer. And then there you are going through the fresh out of the bootcamp guy. And I was like, man, he's talking about stuff that I have no idea about. And I don't work that way. And I don't know if he's even going to like working with me. And it's funny that you went on, I don't know if you went on a journey with it, or did you feel like this very early on, or did you spend some years on the new thing journey?
No, I tried to do what everyone else did at first. Like I talk about this Next.js. My final project at the bootcamp was written in Next.js because I just you Google it, what's good? Okay, everyone likes this. Fire it up, and off I went. Right, and I would still say that I'm like a React developer. React's got a little more staying power than some of these other libraries I'm gonna bitch and moan about, but that's still my bread and butter is building the single page app. That's the trend, right? That's the trend that you really kind of sidestepped, right? So I think I'm still different from you in that perspective, and that that new epoch is imprinted on me, but it's changed a lot. Maybe to counter what you say, like the difference between 2020 and 2025 is that architecture, I almost feel like it might have peaked around that time, maybe a couple of years after I took the boot camp. That's where okay, we've got the single page client rendered application figured out. It's humming. Everyone's good. There's some good libraries coming out to shore up more dependencies, shoring up React's gaps. A lot, but big things around data fetching and error handling and all that kind of stuff, which was state management was very messy at first. Routing was messy at first.
Terrible, right.
But it's pretty good now.
We're now on React, Svelte, Angular, late versions. Whereas 2020 it was a whole new thing with a new name, 1.0, and I think we're not really in 1.0 territory anymore. Things have. It kind of shook out which ones were going to get a big community around it. And so there is more of a momentum behind certain platforms than in the early days when it was a little bit scrappy of all right, well, I got a new idea. Even when Svelte came on the scene, I think it took a while for things to support Svelte in the same way that they did Vue or React.
But then React went and did the whole thing where they decided to reinvent the wheel, right? And so now they have this whole server rendered component aspect to it, right? Server rendering is back, right? The pendulum is swinging the other way, and we're all realizing that servers are fast.
Especially when you spend all the money on them, which is
When you've got a Vercel Blue subscription for $1,000 a month, it hums, man. It's really fast. So the server rendered stuff is interesting because it changes the whole paradigm. All of the truths that have been ironed out with React are now up for question again. And they did this very strange thing with Vercel and Next.js, and that they kind of onboarded this other company into the development of server rendered applications. So if you want to do server rendered React, you pretty much have to use Vercel. There's a couple other frameworks now that are starting to get into it, but the API at React's level for server rendered is not developer friendly. It's for libraries and frameworks to work with. And I just don't love that architecture choice. If I want to use React, I want to use React. I don't want to have to go to some other company and have them package up React in the way that they want to do it for me to use this feature that's built into the library. Like, it's just kind of bizarre. And then as you're seeing, they're trying to get ahead of the game, and they're shipping, they shipped Canary React for a while, and they still have a bunch of other, in development packages that are operating under the hood there. So, because they're trying to, they're a company, they're trying to stay ahead of the game. I guess I understand why they're doing it, but it's just like a weird conflicts of like Wild West coding and vendor lock-in and like the opposite of open source kind of stuff, like just very closed door decision-y, and it's got a little bit of an ick to it, and I'm not happy about it. But
I'm thinking about the moments, the like Precambrian explosions of different parts of the stack, where I feel like in my early days around and just post college, everyone was writing their own framework. And then the mid 2010s, everyone was writing their own CMS. And then late 2010s, early 2020s, everyone was writing their own JS front end framework. And then I feel like now everyone's writing their own deployment situation. Yeah. And it just, the thing that if you ever have I should write my own, that whatever that instinct is that you fill in that last chunk changes every 5 years. And which is interesting. Then it's like, all right, what's the next thing that everyone's going to write their own thing of? Try to figure that out, and you'll
get ahead of the game,
top
right?
of the open source charts. If you can figure that one out. I guess LLM would be the one.
Yeah, we missed that. We missed it. There we go.
That was the next one. Right.
Make your own LLM platform. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know.
Is this? Did you feel like you got anything else on your chest here that you got to get off?
No, that was a pretty good rant. I think we covered it.
Okay.
We used to get angry emails from our space side. Now we're also gonna get them from the dev
No one
side.
watched this. We're just figuring out what this is.
Someone will watch it. Some JS
Eventually.
developers gonna get all up my grill.
We're gonna get brigaded by.
Yeah. There's gonna be some Vercel groupies that come after me, but we'll sort it out. So
they call them evangelists. Okay. Development evangelists. Sales engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time we can talk about how learning Go radicalized me and made me a bad JS developer. How about that?
I'm already in on that one, so I'm looking forward to that. Next Thursday this time. We'll get Ryan in one of these. We'll see. He's probably got takes that you would enjoy too. One time I'll do a hybrid app. I'll do my hybrid app soapbox with my expansion of the universe analogy that I like to use. So that'll cross streams a little bit with us. I almost equated the rise of all these JS frameworks to the small launch industry in this show, but I resisted. Where there was 100 in work and a bunch went out of business and there are 3 left. It felt similar, but we'll save everybody for that. That's it. This is our coffee chat. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, it was a good way to spend a Thursday morning.
Yeah, man. Bye, everybody.